Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new edition of Business Insider. I'm Mohammed Abdurrahim. Egypt and Japan have enjoyed a long-lasting friendship. Back in the 1860s, a samurai diplomatic mission to Europe passed through Egypt, and deeply impressed with Egyptian modernizations and traditions, and of course throughout the years, and in the 50s there was that great cooperation in 1954, and throughout history and until today, and most recently His Excellency Japan's Prime Minister visited Egypt and signed a number of agreements with His Excellency the Egyptian President. And JICA, which is of course a very important development or agency, the Japan International Cooperation Agency, aimed with the objective of promoting international cooperation as well as the soundness of the global economy, plays a cornerstone in the Egypt-Japan strategic partnership. And in tonight's episode, we are honored to have with us the Chief Representative of Japan International Cooperation Agency, known as JICA, Mr. Ken Kato. A great pleasure and honor to have you with us, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining Nile TV International.
Yeah, thank you.
And allow us, Mr. Kato, and allow us, dear viewers, first to watch a report on our topic for tonight, and then come back and start our discussion. Please stay with us.
Minister of Trade and Industry Ahmed Samir has stated that the trade exchange between Egypt and Japan reached approximately $1.25 billion in 2022. The minister said that Egypt and Japan had distinguished bilateral relations based on achieving common interests of the two countries, highlighting the government's keenness to attract more Japanese investments to work in the Egyptian market and benefit from advanced Japanese industrial expertise, as well as from the distinguished investment opportunities available in Egypt. Samir explained that the most important items of trade exchange between Egypt and Japan during the past year include food products, furniture, agriculture, crops, building materials, engineering and electronic goods, chemical products, fertilizers, and ready-made clothes. He added that Japanese investments in Egypt amounted to about $408.2 million as of June 2021, and in the fields of engineering and meteorological industries, automobile and pharmaceutical industries, food products, financial services, infrastructure, tourism, information technology, and renewable energy. Muhammad Abdul Karim, the chairperson of the Industrial Development Authority, noted that the number of Japanese establishments registered in the authority is 11 in various industrial sectors, pointing out to these establishments providing about 4,600 job opportunities.
Thank you very much, Rasha Abdelhamid and Abir Hussein, for this report. And back now with Mr. Ken Kato, the Chief Representative of the JICA office here in Egypt. Sir, we are very delighted to have you with us today, and we want you, first of all, to introduce us briefly to JICA. Introduce JICA to the audience, if you will, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me today, and also thank you for hosting me in Egypt. We have the great experience here with your Egyptian people's kindness and hospitality. And the JICA stands for the Japan International Cooperation Agency. That is the implementing agency to provide offshore development assistance from the Japan to the partner countries. And for the Egypt, we started our cooperation in 1954, so it is almost 70 years, so quite a long history of the cooperations. And we established the office here in 1977. So our symbolic project was like a Cairo Opera House or Japanese very rich hospital of the Cairo University. It's called Japanese Hospital. And also the other one is the Suez Canal Bridge. It's called Egypt-Japan Friendship Peace Bridge. And current most recent notable project is GEM, Grand Egyptian Museum.
Yes, perfect. If I want to go back to 54, if you would allow me. I mean, that was a technical cooperation project. And then there was an ODA loan to expand the Suez Canal in the 1970s. So the cooperation has been ongoing and consistent between Japan and Egypt. And we all remember, of course, in 2015 and 2016, the exchange of visits between President Sisi and, of course, His Excellency former late Mr. Shinzo Abe. And by the way, I personally always go on the road. I go on Shinzo Abe's road every day here in Egypt. That's next to where I live. So, I mean, and this, you know, this Shinzo Abe axis or road and other things that bear his name is, I think, a testament to the depth of the relationship between Egypt and Japan.
Yeah, I think so that there's a very strong ties and relationship between Japan and Egypt, and especially the late Prime Minister Abe and President Sisi's relationship is very strong. So we support, JICA supported the one university in Bulgaria, El Arab. It names the EJUST, Egypt-Japan University for Science Technology. For that also, the President Sisi and the Egyptian government decided to have the complex here and named Shinzo Abe complex. So even in that university also such Abe, Prime Minister Abe's former Prime Minister's name.
Yes, and always, you know, very happy to see such a big Japanese name here in Egypt, and I guess, again, it's testament to the close relationship between the two countries. And before we proceed, Mr. Kato, as recent as the 30th of April, I mean, that was very, very recently, JICA signed a loan agreement with the government here to provide a Japanese ODA loan of up to 100 million yen for the Greater Cairo Metro Line number 4 phase 1 project 3. Could you talk to us about that, please?
Yes, we signed the third tranche of the Greater Cairo Metro Line 4. Its amount is around 100 billion Japanese yen, which is equivalent to around 750 million US dollars. So it is quite big kind of investment concessional loan for the infrastructure. So it is the supporting the Cairo Metro about 19 kilometers from the 6 October on the west side of the Greater Cairo up to the east and center of the Greater Cairo. So it
beautiful.
Be, yes.
And what made it, of course, even more special is that it was attended by His Excellency Prime Minister Kishida Fumio of Japan, of course, when he was on an official visit here in Egypt. Now, Mr. Kato, the volume of JICA's portfolio of cooperation with the government of Egypt, where does it stand right now?
Yes, actually our accumulated portfolio with Egypt is around 9 billion US dollars. Then mainly around 7 billion is through the concessional loans. And remaining will be is the form of the grant and also some technical cooperations. And currently we have the ongoing portfolio, which is amount to around 3 billion US dollars equivalent. It's used for the 10 projects covering the transport sector, energy and agriculture, health and tourism. Something like this.
Yes, and we would like indeed to talk about, we know that your activities in Egypt cover a lot of sectors that, like you mentioned, and if we say, for instance, tourism sector, of course, then there is the GEM. So GEM is something everyone is proud of, Mr. Kato, and we have seen His Excellency Prime Minister Kishida keen on visiting it during his stay in Egypt. So how significant was this visit, and what was the impression, His Excellency's impressions after visiting GEM?
Yes. Prime Minister Kishida visited the Grand Egyptian Museum with the guide of the Prime Ministers,
Dr. Madbouli. Yes.
So after his visit, then he expressed such kind of strong impression and, how can I say, immense some cultural value of the Grand Egyptian Museum. And as the part of the Grand Egyptian Museum, now Japanese expert is supporting for the restoration of the second Khufu boat. That was excavated from the just next to the Khufu pyramid. Then now it is preserved and also the restored under the restoration process. So once the Grand Egyptian Museum is opened, then the visitors can see the live kind of restoration work in the part of the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Yes, and of course this is already being dubbed as the biggest cultural city in the world. I mean, that's the goal for GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum. So JICA has been supporting the construction of GEM, right, financially. So could you talk to us about that?
Yes. JICA has been supporting the construction of this Grand Egyptian Museum. It is around 730 million US dollars concessional loan. And while providing that loan, we also supporting the technical assistance to the government of Egypt, like joint conservation of the actual artifacts, I mean restoration of the artifacts jointly with the Egyptian expert and Japanese expert, and around 72 artifacts jointly restored, and it will be displayed in the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Wonderful. Before we move forward, of course, during His Excellency Premier Kishida's visit in Egypt, he mentioned that Egypt is a major regional power, and we've talked about, of course, about the cultural relations between Egypt and Japan, two countries very rich in culture, but also, I mean, politically, how, and Egypt being a leader in this area, in this region, how does Japan view Egypt and the importance of Egypt as a leader for regional stability?
Yes, Japan will host the G7 summit in this month, and just before that, Prime Minister Kishida visited African countries, 4 countries, and especially Egypt is the first country to visit here, and government of Japan attached the importance to Egypt as the regional major power to ensure the stability and the peace of the Middle East and African regions.
Yes, and back to tourism again, it will be for sure a great addition to the tourism sector here in Egypt. That's GEM I'm speaking about. So we heard that there will be a metro station in the GEM area. So does JICA have to do something with that metro station because of the cooperation, especially in the transport sector that JICA plays here in Egypt?
Yes, through the support for the Cairo Metro Line 4, among these 19 kilometers distance, we have the station near the GEM, so the people and the tourists can commute using such kind of eco-friendly kind of public transportation to reach to the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. So again, staying with the transport sector, Mr. Kato, JICA recently signed the 3rd tranche of the loan agreement for Metro Line 4. And of course, there is great cooperation between JICA and Egypt in the transport sector. Could you please elaborate on that cooperation for us?
Yes, actually this Cairo Metro Line 4 was proposed through our transport master plan in the past, so that the JICA has been supporting the transport sector in such kind of holistic manner, not only the particular one project, but also the providing the big picture of the urban development and the urban transportations. And in addition to that, we put the importance to the climate change issues, and Egypt also hosts the COP27 last year. Then to attach the great importance to the climate change action. So from that point of view, also in the transportation sector, we have been supporting the airport terminal in the Borg Arab, and this is the first kind of green airport in Egypt with the certain solar power generation and high efficiency air conditioning and LED, of course, and the photocatalysis. So such kind of Japanese technology are used in that project also.
So Japan, of course, is a leader in fighting global warming and climate change. I want to go back to that point, but I believe that you yourself signed the agreement for the Metro Line agreement with the Egyptian Minister of Transport, right?
Yeah, it was a really honored, great opportunity for me to sign the loan agreement in the President Palace with the presence of the President Sisi and the Prime Minister Kishida. And we signed a loan agreement with the Ministry of Transport Minister, Lieutenant General Kamer Al-Wazir. So that is a great opportunity for me.
How did you see the organization of COP 27 by Egypt in Sharm el-Sheikh?
That is very well organized, and I'm very impressed by that overall kind of COP27 event. And during that time, we have lots of collaborative event with the government of Egypt. So, for example, some energy efficiency aspect, we provide a technical cooperation to the Ministry of Electricity and Renewable Energy, and also the Ministry of Petroleum. So, with a collaboration with them, we hosted certain energy efficiency workshop there, and also the Egyptian government prepared the first energy efficiency report. And announced that publication of this report at the time of the COP27. So to have the opportunity of the COP27, government of Egypt has the great kind of effort to tackle the climate change issues.
Beautiful. And sir, we have seen that His Excellency Prime Minister Kishida was keen to chair the Egyptian-Japanese Business Forum. What were the reflections from this meeting, and how is JICA supporting the private sector in Egypt?
Thank you. So during the Prime Minister Kishida's visit, Prime Minister Kishida and the Prime Minister Mabduri chaired the Egypt-Japanese Businessman Forum. And in that forum, Prime Minister Kishida emphasized that the Egypt potential and the advantage for attracting the new investment because of the Egypt has a large population and also the large portion of the young generation.
Very true.
Yes. Yeah. So from that point of view, already in Egypt, more than 50 Japanese companies operating here. Then we expect more direct investment from Japan in the future.
Right. And aside from JICA's usual government-to-government cooperation, we've seen the private Japanese sector being involved in many sectors across the Egyptian economy. Could you talk to us about some of those, Mr. Kato?
Yes. For the development of the nation, the private sector's role is very significant. So not only through the government and the government corporations, JICA promoting some private sector's investment through our private investment finance scheme. Then taking the opportunity of this COP27, that time Minister of the International Cooperation also took the very strong initiative to start the NUAFI program. It's called, it stands for the nexus of the water, food, energy. So that is a flagship Egypt initiative at the COP27. So to meet that kind of initiative, we decide to finance the renewable project in Aswan, called around 500 megawatt Komombo solar power plant in Aswan. So through that, our private finance scheme also, we want to support the development of the Egypt.
Great. And also, I believe there is cooperation in the banking sector. We have the Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation having inked a deal with Bank Misr here in Egypt for financing medium and small enterprises, right? Could you tell us about the importance of such an agreement?
Yes, Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation is called SMBC, is very active in banking financing in Egypt. And in 2021, we have some co-financing with SMBC, then to support the Bank Misr for the promoting the medium and the social small, medium-sized enterprise, some business activities, and especially the women-owned enterprises. So.
Okay, great. And Mr. Kato, the private sector being, of course, a cornerstone for development and promotion of investment, requires not only financing but also skilled labor. What are you doing as JICA here to develop the skills of laborers here in Egypt?
I understand that now the government of Egypt is very much putting importance to the growth of the domestic industrial sector.
That's true.
Yeah, from that point of view, definitely the skilled good labor force is required for such kind of each companies and factories, industries. So from that point of view, the now government of Egypt is requesting the Japan to support some introduction of the Japanese unique system called Kosen. A Kosen system is actually a very unique education system, 5 years unique education system, which was introduced after the World War II to meet the rapid growth of the economy, then provide the practical engineers to meet such kind of domestic industries demand. So after the 15 years junior high school educations, immediately get into the Kosen system. That is the 5 years education system to provide good practical engineers for the production lines or some head of the research and development sections, or such kind of approach is quite effective for the growth of the Japan in the past. Then now the Egyptian government is very much keen to introduce similar kind of system into the here. So from that point of view, now we are under formulation of the EJ Kosen Institute. It's a kind of college of the technology. So to have the good education system here.
So we now have Japanese experts on Egyptian ground and soil in helping teach that Kosen system, right?
Yeah, soon Japanese expert will come to provide some assistance.
Okay, of course, when we say Japanese experts, I mean, two things always come to mind, perhaps to normally you would think of technological experts, and you would also think of martial arts experts. Could you tell us about what do you know about the presence of masters here and senseis and martial arts here in Egypt? Because Japanese masters and senseis and coaches are everywhere, of course, in the world teaching martial arts.
I see. Yeah, we have the long history of such kind of martial arts like judo, and we have the how can I say good support of such kind of martial arts through our some scheme to dispatch some judo expert here. Then now we are receiving some requests from the Judo Federation here to support some kind of, to strengthen the national judo team to be the very much competitive in the international kind of competition. So from that point of view, now coming maybe the 6 months later, that some judo expert will come to support such kind of.
Good to hear, because I always keep reading about new Japanese experts in various martial arts here in Egypt, not only judo, but other also martial arts and other forms of martial arts. Now, there are many sectors where there is cooperation between Egypt and Japan, and one of them is the excuse me, the health sector. Could you talk to us about what's going on now in the health sector cooperation, Mr. Kato?
Yes, we have been supporting the health sector quite long time, and one of the symbolic project is that the Japanese Abel Reich Hospital.
Yes.
It's called Japanese Hospital, I think.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, Abu Rish Hospital, is known by almost every Egyptian. So just tell, yeah, of course, it's a famous name, famous name, landmark, yes.
Good. So I think that it's very popular among the Egyptian people. So now the capacity of this hospital is reaching the kind of limit. So we have been supporting some new outpatient facility for this Abu Rish Hospital. Then it is worth around 15 million US dollars. Then just it was completed. Then now it's now on the service for that. And also in that hospital also we have been supporting some soft, how can I say, Japanese expert cooperation there to improve some kind of management of this hospital.
The world is moving so fast, and after COVID-19, there were so many discoveries like in the importance of the artificial intelligence sector, for instance, and the health sector is making technological advances every day. Could you tell us about how you think JICA could help Egypt in catching up to this very fast technological revolution, if I may say, that Japan is one of its leaders? I mean, Japan is historically one of the leaders of technology and technological revolutions. So what are you doing as JICA to help Egypt, which is a leader in its region, but that wants to catch up to the leaders globally, Japan being, of course, on top of them, if not at least one of the top?
Yeah. So the health sector in Egypt needs how can I say, already they have very big kind of foundation of the health services for not only the usual ordinary rich middle class people, but
Yeah.
also the providing health service to the vulnerable poor people. So from that point of view, Japan has been insisting about the universal health coverage, so no one left behind, and even poor, vulnerable people also have the similar kind of quality of the health services. So from that point of view, we have been supporting the universal health coverage improvement and the universal health insurance scheme to be introduced in Egypt.
And of course, you know
yeah.
that recently there's been a law covering,
Yes,
of course, that, and even the WHO congratulated Egypt on that law. But it's very good to hear that you are lending a hand here.
Yes, actually the Minister of Finance, Mr. Mait,
Yes.
taking the initiative to introduce such kind of insurance system there. So to support that, we have committed around 44 billion Japanese yen budgetary support to promote the universal health insurance. And in parallel also that we have been dispatching the Japanese expert here to make a good model of the insurance system here, like in the Port Said or Luxor. We pick up several governorates to introduce the good model of the insurance system.
Beautiful. And because we're running out of time, unfortunately, I want to go back, Mr. Kato, to one of the areas where cooperation between Egypt and Japan, and especially JICA playing a big role, is in the field of education. So tell us about the latest and the future, the near-term plans for JICA's help to Egypt in modernizing its educational system. And you mentioned COSEN, for instance, but you know, we want other areas, if you will.
Yes. For the education sector, Egypt and Japan has some strong kind of partnership to introduce good quality of the services from the early childhood up to the university level education.
Yeah.
Yes. So in February 2016, there is the agreement announced called the Egypt-Japan Education Partnership, EGYP. So under this partnership, we have been supporting the, for example, the primary education through some tokkatsu system. Tokkatsu is a kind of non-cognitive skills and some to have the disciplined students through some actual tokkatsu activities like a cleaning in the classroom or a debate and make a decision by their students by themselves. So such kind of Japanese way of the education was introduced here and is now as a part of the curriculum already. So through that, based on that curriculum, Egyptian government took initiative to establish Egypt-Japan School, EJS.
Yeah.
And already it is 51 schools were established. So as the model of this Japanese methodology. So from now on, Egypt government planning to establish 100 EJS school, and also another 100 existing school will be transformed as some adapting the Japanese methodology in especially in the Hayakalima area.
Yeah.
So that kind of
Great. Mr. Kato, for how long have you been here in Egypt?
Around 1 year.
Okay,
Yes.
but you came to Egypt before, right?
Yes.
Before your official position now.
Yes, 20 years before I came here and to make some finance for the renewable energy project. So that time, just the beginning of the renewable energy development in Egypt. Then we formulate a project for the wind power project in Zafarana. So then I have a chance to come back here. So that there's
And how do you feel? I mean, 20 years later. I mean,
Yes.
the difference. I mean, how do you see how did you feel when you first touched ground back in Egypt, and now after 1 year and hopefully one of many years to come here in Egypt, how do you feel?
So actually the people, the kindness and the hospitality of the Egyptian people has not been changed. I mean, maintained well, and I have the good impression from that 20 years before. Then now I see the lots of development here, especially on the infrastructure, like a road project from the new administration capital to this Greater Cairo area, and also some road from this Cairo to Alexandria, or road to the Upper Egypt. So that kind of road network and other infrastructures are very much impressive, and so much change I see.
Are you happy here?
Yes, I'm happy.
Yes, we are happy to have you.
Thank you.
And finally, Mr. Kato, the future cooperation between JICA and Egypt, how do you see it?
So as you mentioned in the beginning, that we have the quite long history from the 1862 when our samurai delegation visited here. Then they took the train from Suez to Cairo to Alexandria to go to Europe. So from that time we have the long relationship and a good relationship with Egypt. So I think that we have the lots of potential area of the cooperations, and we very much eager to support such kind of development of these nations through the transport area, agriculture, energy, and education, health. So quite a long range of the project.
Great. I'm really delighted to have had you here, sir, the Chief Representative of the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, Mr. Ken Kato. It's been a great pleasure and an honor, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, dear viewers, for watching us here on Business Insider. Next week, same time, inshallah, is a new episode. Until then, this is Muhammad Abdurrahim, and this is goodbye.